Hey y'all, this is AstroDim here, back with another episode of my Bed and Astrology. Alright. So, today we will be talking about intercepting signs and duplicate signs. Alright? Now, you're probably wondering what the hell that is. How can you find that? A lot of people will be questioning it because of different, chart types. There's a whole bunch of different chart types within astrology. And so the one that I know intercepting signs and duplicate signs are most related to is the Placidus chart type, which is like calculated by location and all that stuff, but it's just a long, arduous thing that I'm probably going to talk about later. I'm probably going to go into chart types and what I feel is the most what you get out of all the chart types and everything. But I believe there's other chart types that will have intercepting and duplicate signs but within your chart. But basically what chart types do, they determine how the houses are sized, how big or small the houses are sized. Now, the thing is with intercepting signs and duplicate signs is that the general definition is when an entire sign is inside of a house, but it's not the house ruler. So for instance, say you can use me as an example. If you have I have my second house starts in Pisces but ends in Taurus, so all of Aries is in my second house, but it's not, the Aries is not a house ruler. Do you get what I'm saying? So generally that's what intercepting houses are. And the thing is, I'm not going to get into too much detail because I feel like I'm going to give out everything, and I don't want to have to repeat myself, but I'm basically going to talk about what intercepting signs are, what duplicate signs are, and what that means to you and for you, you know what I mean, and how that information can help you. The thing is, a lot of people use equal sign charts or equal house charts. Now, equal sign charts are charts that, no matter what degree ascendant you are, the chart always doesn't start at your ascendant. It actually starts at the beginning of the sign. So I'm Aquarius ascendant, and even though I'm a 4-degree Aquarius ascendant, the first house is always going to start off at the 0 degree of Aquarius. And it's just every sign starts at 0 degrees. Now, an equal house chart system or chart type is, since I am an Aquarius 4th house, that means that my first house starts at Aquarius, my second house 4 degrees, my second house starts at Pisces 4 degrees, my third house starts at Aries 4 degrees. You know what I mean? It's just same degree over and over again. But with Placidus, there's some mathematical equations and stuff, and they figure it out. I'm not going to get into detail with that because I feel like that should be its own episode. But I kind of just wanted you guys to get a full idea of how, there's differences, and, there's different chart types that would have intercepting signs and duplicate signs. But, we're gonna, my favorite chart type is Placidus. So we're going to talk about that. Okay? All right. So, the thing is, this is cool because I feel like this information is very, very, important when it comes to not only your life purpose, but karmic past life information. I think it can really open some doors on about your past life and some of the history within it. Okay? So we're going to talk about that. Does that sound cool? Y'all are cool with that? All right. Let's get to it, okay? All right. So, again, let's, talk about the definition of what exactly is an intercepted sign and what is a duplicate sign, okay? Now, I mentioned it before, but I'm just going to repeat it again. An intercepting sign is when an entire sign is inside of a house, but it's not the house ruler. Again, an intercepted sign is when an entire sign is inside of a house within your chart, but it's not the house ruler. So I'm going to use myself as an example again. My second house starts in Pisces and it ends in Taurus. Thus meaning my third house starts in Taurus. So the entire Aries sign is within my second house, but it's not a house ruler. That is what you would call an intercepted house. Intercepted sign, okay? Now, the thing is, when it comes to all charts, no matter what chart style you use, the opposite house is going to be the same exact size as each other. You know what I mean? So my second house is the same exact size as my 8th house, the opposite house. So that means that there'll be an intercepted sign on the opposite sign. So not only is my Aries intercepted within my chart, Libra is too. Okay? And so you get the kind of like the best of both worlds, you may say, right? You know what I mean? So I have both in my example, Aries and Libra intercepted, meaning that both Aries and Libra are in my chart. The whole entire sign is within a house, but it's not a house ruler. Now you think, okay, 2 signs are not house rulers. That leaves, you still got 12 houses, but now you only have 10 signs. So that means there has to be 2 signs that are shown twice within my chart. And so you look around and see Taurus for me shows up as a house ruler twice in my chart. Taurus is the house ruler for my 3rd and my 4th house. Now again, remember how I said how if you have an intercepted sign in one sign, the opposite sign is going to be intercepted too? Same with duplicate. Okay? So my Taurus, I have Taurus as a house ruler for 2 of my houses. So that means Scorpio will too. So Taurus is a house ruler for my 3rd and 4th house. So that means my 9th and 10th house ruler is Scorpio. Okay? Is it all coming together? So again, like that, since there's 2 signs that are not house rulers at all, that still leaves 12 houses with only 10 signs. So it has to make up somehow. And so now there are 2 signs that are not house rulers, but they're 2 signs with that has 2 house rulers. Okay? Now, again, this happens a lot, with Placidus, chart types. It happens to the folks a lot that live kind of up north. You know what I mean? But there are instances of people who are kind of southern that go through it. But I feel like how the math is, it doesn't there's some folks who like that live up north that don't go through this at all. Like, I have a friend, one of my best friends, Jamar, doesn't have any intercepted signs in his house, on his chart at all. But I know some folks in California that has it. So it kind of depends on the time. It definitely depends on the location, because the interesting thing is, if you like, there's this famous actress, and I can't think of her name, but some woman, if I get her information, I will add it in, did an amazing explanation, if I want you to check it out, on intercepting signs. And there's a woman that has like a chunk of intercepted signs, but she was born and raised in Sweden, I think, or like up there in the Netherlands. So, the further north or further south you are, the most likely you'll have intercepted houses and duplicate houses. Intercepted signs and duplicate signs, So, I know some people are like, well, if it's based on location, like, why do all these people, that live up here, they all gonna have intercepting signs? Like, they all have this like interesting karmic past? I don't know. I mean, there's probably folks out there that live up north or live very south that don't actually have intercepted signs in their charts. You know what I mean? I think it really does vary, but I think there might be something to it. Maybe they do have an interesting karmic past, and they have to work things out. You don't know. It's really interesting. Of course, it's not the only way you can find out about your past life and your karmic past, but I believe that this is an excellent way to find out. Okay. Now, that's basically the whole, the definition of intercepting signs and duplicate signs. Like I mentioned before with this, if you have an intercepting sign or in one sign, the opposite sign is going to be intercepted too. That's just how it is. You know what I mean? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each of the signs or the axes, meaning each of the sign and its opposite. So I want to go off with Aries and Libra, explain what it may mean for your karmic past there. Go off for, then Taurus and Scorpio, and just keep going on from there to there and telling you how it is connected in the next segment of this episode, okay? Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to explain why I have a strong inclination on why it does represent your karmic past, okay? And yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. All right. Hey y'all, so actually before I get started talking about the intercepted house signs and intercepted or duplicate signs, I do want to make this quick word about intercepted signs I totally forgot to mention, like a fool. So with intercepting signs and duplicate signs, you see how it is, like I mentioned before. The sign, there's two signs within your chart that are not house rulers. So that, again, leaves 10 signs with 12 houses. So there has to be two signs that are house rulers for two houses. You know what I mean? That's something that you need to think about. This is why I think this has to do with, the whole like past life thing. I'm gonna have my example, but I just want to make this quick word. There's two energies, important energies, that are not a house ruler within your chart, that's not being counted for. I feel like this is energy that you've already used up. You know what I mean? So that's why it's connected to your past life. Energy that is strong and you already used up and it's already been exhausted because you use up all that type of energy within your chart. But now you have, again, 10 signs and 12 houses. How is this going to work out? There has to be 2 signs that rule 2 houses. Those are the energies that you actually end up neglecting in your past life. So you need to make up for it in this life. You see how it is? You know what I mean? Like all 12 signs, excuse me, are very, very important because regardless, all the 12 signs are in your chart. All the 12 signs comprise of this whole universal energy. Why would there be 2 signs that don't rule a house? You know what I mean? It's because those energies have already been exhausted. You neglected these 2 other energies. So you're being pushed to focus more on those 2 energies because in your past life you didn't. Do you see why I feel like there's a connection with past life there? Okay. I wanted to kind of push that, and I'm going to repeat it again. And explain my situation in like one of the later segments. So this is what I'm going to do. Okay. This next segment, I'm going to talk about intercepting signs and how it's connected to your karmic past. I'm going to talk the next segment after that. I'm going to talk about duplicated signs and how it's connected to your life for this life and the life going forward. If you have another life after this one. And then the next segment, I'm going to talk about, again, the whole concept of it being like intercepting signs, duplicate signs, talking about your karmic past and what you need to do now. And I'm going to use my real life example of that. And then I'm going to have a last words. Okay. All right. All right. So, let's get this going. Okay. Mwah. All right, baby. So now I'm going to go through the signs, axes. Basically, I'm going to talk about the connection between the sign and its opposite sign. Because remember how I said that if one sign is intercepted, the other one is. If one sign, the opposite sign is. And if one sign is duplicate, the opposite sign of that sign is duplicate as well. I'm going to talk about the connection of those signs and how it can relate to it being intercepted. How can it relate to your karmic past or your past life? Okay. So we're going to start off with Aries and Libra. So the main kind of like theme of Aries and Libra is finding oneself. Okay. Now, I know that you're thinking like, okay, well, Aries means self, so that's already covered. Yes, but Aries finds self through looking at themselves, which I'm like, duh, but hear me out here. So, Aries represents drive. It represents personality, persona, appearance, first impressions, how you look to others, at least how you want to look to others. You get what I'm saying? And so it's kind of like how you build yourself, and it's all about how you build yourself by focusing on oneself, while Libra represents relationships and relating. But the thing is, what people misconstrue with Libra energy is relating and get into relationships to understand themselves. You know what I mean? What Libra is notorious of doing is kind of scoping someone out, talking to them, shooting the shit, getting their idea, that other person's ideas, philosophies, comparing it to their own and seeing like what they can take, what they can leave, kind of, and trying to build their own selves. So to find their own selves, what people of Libra energy do is look at what other people are doing. And the thing is, it's like what they can do, what they do, they're not trying to be like copycats or nothing, and it's not that at all. But they're kind of weeding out and seeing what they like and what they want to take on. They are looking at how other people move to learn about themselves. You know what I mean? So this access, this, Libra and Aries energy is basically about self. So if you end up having an intercepting sign with Aries and Libra, your past life was focused on self. How'd you build yourself? By looking at yourself and figuring yourself out. And how'd you build yourself through relating with others? So let's go deeper. How could that describe your past life? If you have Aries and Libra intercepted, let's first talk about Aries. Most likely you were extremely driven. Most likely you had masculine energy. Most likely you were a fighter, probably a warrior. In the military, you were did physical work and just had this very strong masculine energy, and you were a leader. Think about Aries energy and how it manifests on Earth. You know what I mean? Most likely this was a part of your past life. War, fighting, being driven, being strong, masculine, a man's man, pretty much, right? A leader, definitely a leader, but kind of like not like a king or a queen is a possibility, but more of a leader, like if you have like some Leo energy in there too, but more of a leader that's for the people, that people love, you know what I mean? That type of leader. Now let's look at Libra side too. And again, like both of these energies, since they're all about self, both of these energies, are a part of your past life. You know what I mean? Or past lives. So you could have had this Aries energy and then have the Libra energy that I'm about to explain too. So Libra energy is about relating. So, Libras are notoriously known for being players. They relate to one person on a one-on-one basis, but they might relate to another person on another one basis at the same damn time, honey. Okay? So you probably were a player if you had these signs intercepted you probably were a player in your past life. If you weren't a player, you were really relationship oriented, focused on your relationship. You probably, whether it be romantic or just like you really related to someone that you were close with, like a friend or it could be even a sibling, like someone that you have just one person that you were really close to, really relationship oriented. We talk about kind of go deeper, you probably were in the justice system and government, because what Libra represents, how it manifests in 3D is fairness, judgment, justice, right? So you probably were in the government. You probably had to relate with people one-on-one, probably in a situation where you were like a judge or judging people to figure out what's right and what's wrong. So like lawyer, like big, like, that whole government vibe, like lawyer vibe, law, that type of stuff. Relating to others to help them out, but to also understand who you are and understand the world around you. Okay? And how you fit in that world. Because it's not just about the world around you with these two signs. It's a world around you and how you fit in it. You know what I mean? So it's still, at the end of the day, it's all about them. You get what I'm saying? So that's how I would describe the person's energies, what they were in their past life, right? So let's go with Taurus and Scorpio. Now, Taurus and Scorpio, what their whole thing has to deal with is worth and what they define what worth is. All right. So if you have intercepting signs within Taurus and Scorpio, it's worth. That's your main thing, worth. Now, Taurus energy, people know that Taurus is, all about self-worth and material worth. Okay? So there's a great chance that you were an entrepreneur, that you had to build yourself up to have all this money, because Taurus is just not about material worth, it's self-worth too. So it's a situation where you had to build yourself up. You made your own money. You did this yourself. You didn't do it with, other people of course helped, but it was mainly you doing it. You didn't get inherited this thing. You know what I mean? You didn't just get this. Like, you were a part of building this up. Even if it was like an inheritance, you were a part of building your legacy, your family's legacy. You know what I mean? So great chances you were an entrepreneur. Taurus is all about beauty too. Libra is too. So just to talk about the last signs that we were talking about, definitely include beauty in there, because Libra is all about beauty as well. But, there's a great chance that person with an Aries and Libra and Taurus and Scorpio, if those houses are intercepted, they were absolutely drop dead gorgeous. The thing is, though, with the Aries and Libra energy, they were kind of like a more masculine, good, like gorgeous, you know what I mean? Or at least if you were female, a lot of men thought you were beautiful, while the Taurus and Scorpio, you were more feminine beauty, or a lot of females thought you were beautiful, okay? Because both Libra and Taurus, they're ruled by Venus. But the thing is with these two too, like Taurus is, they are very, like, they have to find beauty within themselves, because again, it's just self-worth. You know what I mean? So it's not really like, they don't really care for like someone saying like you're beautiful, like more of like a Libra person. It's more like Taurus sees what beauty is and kind of goes like and gets that beauty, because they find that worthy. They find that that's worth for them. Okay. But definitely great chance of this person kind of focusing on their own finances, and have to fight for their own money. There's a great instance where you possibly was an orphan or was disadvantaged, and then you end up getting money, and then you build the fuck out of it. You know what I mean? And the reason why I have to say build the fuck out of it is because Scorpio energy is the opposite. Scorpio energy is shared worth. Like, there's a great chance that money was inherited. You know what I mean? So if you have these two signs intercepted, there's a great chance where, you had to build your legacy up. You have to help continue to build this legacy up, or you have to build the legacy up from the ground, but then it exploded, and then afterwards, the money became kind of like something that you had to share. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a shared worth type of situation, or inherited money. You know what I mean? But the whole thing about worth and with Taurus and Scorpio is like with Scorpio energy, their main thing is they find worth within intimately bonding with others. You know what I mean? The reason why Scorpios are so psychic is because they can tap into other people. Like, they need to be able to bond with other people and tap into them to become this psychic. You know what I mean? while Taurus is not really caring for that. They don't need other people as much as Scorpios do. They're more focused about their worth is self-worth, like building themselves up to the best of their ability, while Scorpio energy is more about building someone up together. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if it's a low vibrating Scorpio, then they are the kind of like that thing where they grab onto someone, suck their life energy, and then go off. But if it's a good, like, high vibrating Scorpio, they help tear a person down and build them back up like the phoenix. Okay, so that's kind of like the energy of Taurus, the Taurus Scorpio. So if you have like that energy, it's all about worth. Now, to get to more details about your life of Taurus and Scorpio energy, again, good chance you were an entrepreneur, but you could also have inherited money. But regardless of the situation, if even when you had to inherit the money and explode it, or you already was in a situation where, if you had to build up the money yourself and it exploded into this wonderful business and legacy, or if you inherited the money, you had to keep the legacy going. Regardless, you had to work hard at it. You know what I mean? You wasn't just living lavish. Like, you had to be very much involved within the family legacy. It's a good chance that you were into the occult. That's definitely Scorpio represents that. So this could be tarot. This could be you could have been psychic. You could have went and was interested in psychic, astrology, any type of divination. You know what I mean? There could have been like a magnificent, like very strong, powerful transformation or death that happened within your past life that kind of changed your life for better or for worse. You know what I mean? But it's all within that, basically. The whole thing is kind of like situations in which you build your worth. So Scorpios build their worth by kind of really deeply bonding with others, while Taurus build their worth through more like self-reflection and then building oneself up there. So that's kind of like the main theme of a person who have intercepting signs within those two signs. Okay. Next is Gemini and Sagittarius. Now, Gemini and Sagittarius, their theme as opposite signs is kind of like learning. You know what I mean? Kind of like the teacher vibe. So let's start off with Gemini. Gemini represents communication and community. And their house ruler is Mercury, so they're highly intelligent. They're always in their mind. They're always thinking. They're always trying to figure things out within themselves. But the main thing about Gemini is kind of like relating to oneself, and they relate with oneself by learning. You know what I mean? And they don't like kind of go out in a beyond to learn. They learn through themselves, through their own experiences, and they learn within their community because that's what they know. They go with what they know to learn more about themselves and about life. You know what I mean? So they're like very much the teachers. Like, they won't be like the college professors. They'll be more of a public school teacher, community organizer. You know, if they're an activist, they're community activists. That type of vibe, right? And then Sagittarius, this is the professor. This is the world-renowned person that like kind of goes beyond. So with the Sag energy, they're more the philosopher. They're the ones that learn about other people's lives, about other people's religions, other people's journeys, other people's languages. They go and discover things that are foreign to kind of understand what they're going through and kind of go through in life through that. You know what I mean? So while Gemini is more community based, Sagittarius is more like worldwide, going out, discovering the world. Okay, so if you have intercepted signs here in these two signs, most likely you were a teacher. Most likely you kind of were in a situation where you traveled a lot. You could have traveled a lot, but within your community. But you also could have traveled eventually and later in life or whatever throughout the whole world. You know what I mean? You just move from one place to another. If it was like back in the day, if you were one of them old souls, like traveling to Greece and Egypt seems quick now. But it was a long trip back in the day, and the two vibes were different. You know, Greece, they're European, they're white, while Egyptians are black, and in Africa, like, they're close, but they're two different worlds now, and especially back then. You know what I mean? So that was a long distance travel, you know, but when you think about it, it wasn't that far. So it is still not that far. So you're definitely a traveler. You like to learn. You try to both learn within your own community, but you also learned with, you know, by kind of figuring out other people's too. You have to balance both of them. You know what I mean? And this is why it is intercepted, because you kind of overexhausted or even successfully was able to find that balance. You're right. You know what I mean? And so now you kind of have to focus on other things. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, you were probably like a traveler, probably a merchant, probably, you kind of was like in a situation. You know what I think about when I think about these two being intercepted? I think about like back in the day, like during like the Egyptian, you know, Roman Empire, Egyptian Empire times, where like back in the day, they would have, you know, this kid, and they were kind of like an intern to the skilled person, and they were also going to school, so they were in their community learning, gathering all the information of their community, gathering the information from their elders and their person that they're interning with. And then they become this intelligent person. They become the expert themselves, and so they start learning more and traveling themselves and going out themselves. Like, I kind of get that vibe when I think of these signs being intercepted. So there's a great chance that you were a teacher, great chance that you even had interns yourself, or you were an intern, or both, and you were just learning. You were a philosopher, you were a teacher, you just wanted to learn and learn and learn. You were probably a scientist, you were, you know, probably was with fucking Plato, you know what I mean? Understanding stuff, or Mansa Musa, like you were with like the great minds that had power, or didn't even have power. You were just with the great minds that really helped change the game. And you might not even been someone who was like a big name, but your mind helped change the game. You know what I mean? And you probably were an unsung hero, but you were something to me, baby. Okay. All right, next, Cancer Capricorn, okay? So, when I think of Cancer Capricorn, how would I describe these opposites as a whole unit within themselves? Let me think on that, y'all. Hold on 1 second. I would describe... I guess I would describe this nodal axis as family. right? Now you would think it's kind of similar to Aries, and you would think like, well, family, that's, that's Cancer. But people kind of hog family to Cancer, where Capricorn's all about family too, but they just go about it a different way. Okay? Similar to the whole Aries Libra thing. Now, Cancer energy is about home, family, privacy, your house, like what's within the walls of your house, what people don't really know like that besides your family, your siblings, people. It's not really secrets, but it's just the private moments that people that are close to you know about. I feel like secrets is more kind of Scorpio energy, because that's the stuff that only you're able to tell people your secrets on your own accord. But privacy is kind of like situations that other people were involved in, so they just know off GP. You know what I mean? But that's the Cancer feel. It's kind of like family, home, privacy, that type of stuff. While Capricorn represents status, how people recognize you, how people see you, how you look. You know what I mean? In general, Aries represents how people see you when they first see you. Capricorn represents how people see you just after beyond the first impression. You know what I mean? Beyond the first impression, how did people recognize who you are? What are you known for? You get what I'm saying? And the thing is, it's like they both represent family, but go about it a different way. People see Cancer as the mother, Capricorn as the father. The Capricorn represents the father, because they go out, they go to work, they kind of, you're thinking about back in the day when astrology was created, okay? They're the breadwinners. They're the one that's going out. They're the one that is upholding the reputation of the family. They're the one that holds the family name, right? They're going out there, and people know the family through the father, or in this world, and where we live in today, through the breadwinner, through the person who is the leader of the family, whether it's a woman or a man. You know what I mean? But you're thinking about back in those days, it was the man for the most part. Now, the Cancer, they're the mother. They're the nurturer. They're the ones that's home, cooking, cleaning, making sure the house is right. But again, this could be in a different situation nowadays. But back in those days, is a person that's tending to the family, the person that you can talk to about your private moments, the person that's making sure your home is home and it stays private and to the family, and that's it. So again, the whole thing about the whole intercepting houses movement and idea is that you are balancing both. So you probably had past lives where you were the homemaker. You had to stay home, make sure you take care of the family. But you probably had past lives too, as you were the breadwinner. You were the one working. And you probably had past lives as well, as you were both. You see in a situation, especially back in the day, but it still happens now, where it's a family business and the whole family's involved. You know what I mean? So it happened especially back in the day, where mom and pop owns a freaking seamstress shop or barber shop or whatever, and mom and dad is involved, and kind of like Bob Burgers. You know what I mean? That's a perfect example of in their next life, they probably would have Capricorn and Cancer intercepted, like Bob's Burgers, whereas the whole family is involved. You know what I mean? And you see how Bob represents kind of the Capricorn energy, because he's the reputation of the family. The place is called Bob's Burgers, but people usually go to Linda, the mom, for their personal stuff, and she still tends tends the house, and she's the one that's cooking and cleaning. Even though Bob knows how to cook, Bob only cooks for the restaurant, but Linda cooks for the family, and she's kind of she's the nurturing mother type. You know what I mean? That's the perfect example of the Cancer Capricorn thing being intercepted. It's kind of like balancing both. Your past life was focused on balancing both your family outside of the house and inside of the house. The reputation of the family, both, and also the privacy of the family, and figuring out both and how it can work out. And that was the main thing within your life. Okay. What's next? Leo and Aquarius. Okay. So Leo and Aquarius. I know this is getting long, guys. Leo in general represents your talents, your self-expression, things that you create, things that you give to the world, things that come out of you, your children. But when you think about Leo too, you think about it, Leo is the king, it's the lion, it's the king of the jungle. And Aquarius represents how people perceive what you give to the world, society, friends, acquaintances, non-immediate family members, technology, and activism, social activism, being for the people. Okay? That's what that represents. So, in general, I would say that the Aquarius Leo energy represents talents overall, because Leo represents what you create, and then Aquarius represents how people perceive what you create. Okay. Now, if you have these two houses intercepted, there's a great chance that you were a king or a queen or of extreme power. That Leo energy is strong. Okay. And the thing is, though, because Aquarius is also here too, there was probably a situation in a past life where you were of power, but you were for the people. You weren't really a king or queen. You weren't for the whole kingdom setup, but you were probably an activist fighting for the people or making sure the people were right. Or there's a great chance too that you happen to be like a great king that was highly favored, that everyone loved, that, did the whole, hierarchy thing, but you made sure your people were good. So you know what I mean? Like the balance of the two, like the balance in both being for the people and kind of being this king full of self-expression, more about, self and kind of how you express yourself in general. But there's a great chance that you were extremely talented, because again, this is the two opposite signs of talent. People perceive your talent extremely well, but it could also mean that people didn't perceive your talents that well. And you were properly known as being shitty. That could be another thing too. That could a bad manifestation. But definitely a great chance of you being of power, you having a lot of control over a big group of people, and you being well known for what you do. You being a leader, being extremely well known for what you do. You know what I mean? Being extremely well liked, and beyond well liked, but really just looked up to. But the thing is, it's like it was like basically what these two energies represents is kind of like finding the balance of being that leader and fully expressing oneself, but also not losing yourself within yourself, and being for the people and being grounded. Not fully like grounded, but like being detached, but helping others too. It's finding the balance between Leo and Aquarius, okay? So that was more of your past life. So again, like, kind of to see what you could have been. You probably was, again, a social activist. You could have been like super into astrology, because Aquarius represents astrology energy too. Into technology. Was extremely talented in like the arts. So that's very Leo. Like, you really just were good at a lot of things, kind of jack of all trades a bit when it came to the talents. But at the end of the day, you knew you were a king and you knew you were the shit. But basically, big groups of people knew about you and were down for you. Okay. Now, last and not least, Virgo and Pisces. If these two signs are intercepted, I feel like this is the service signs. Okay. Virgos are always of service. They're known as the earth angels, literally, because they're of service when it comes to earthly 3D things. Okay? They are all about routine, organization, frequency, finding a rhythm, finding the pattern within something and building it up. That's what they're all about. A great chance that you were like an assistant, be in a situation where you're organizing a lot, kind of putting things together and making sure things were in order. But again, like, Pisces is all about being free, living in the moment, surrendering, and spirituality. So you probably also had a past life of being a monk, being a huge spiritualist, being an evangelist, you know what I mean? Anything would have to do with, you connecting with the universal consciousness. Now, I like that how I said monk. I think that's a really good example, because with monks, they fully do surrender to God, to the Creator, but they have an extremely routine life at the same time. So they are the kings of queens of balancing the Virgo energy and Pisces energy. Okay. But there was definitely some strong spirituality within your past lives. Strong spirituality within your past lives. But the thing is, though, like, you were very much aware of your earthly life too. So, there's, again, like, you either found the balance within that or you overexhausted it. So you're so good at that energy that you neglected other energies within your chart. Okay. So now, in the next segment, what I'm going to do is talk about duplicate signs. Now, the duplicate signs, I basically spelled the fuck out of all the differences between the two signs. So talk about my duplicate signs is going to be way shorter. That segment's going to be short as hell. Not short as hell. It's going to be short because I've already pretty much explained all the energies, all the 12 energies between the houses. But what I'm going to do, I am going to still lightly talk about how duplicate houses manifest within your chart too. But I'm just not going to go as much detail as I did for intercepting signs. I keep saying intercepted houses and duplicate houses. I mean to say intercepted signs and duplicate signs. Okay, so know that, please. All right, y'all. All right, so let's get to it when it comes to duplicate signs. Okay, so again, like I said, I totally fleshed out the differences between, a sign and its opposite sign. So I'm gonna lightly touch it, lightly go over it when talking about the duplicate signs. Okay, so again, with duplicate signs, these are the energies that you either totally neglected or pretty much like paid very little attention to in your past lives or life. And now you need to focus a little bit more on it in this life, okay? So again, that's why it's showing up twice in your chart. It's because it's like, okay, like, if you ain't gonna do it in this house, you're gonna do it in this house, bitch. You know what I mean? So that's how it's manifesting, okay? So yeah, let's start off with Aries and Libra. So again, Aries and Libra is focused on self, either, building oneself by looking at yourself, or relating to others, and in turn learning about yourself through seeing what other people do and kind of weighing out what you like and not, what you don't like, and how you are going to apply it to yourself, okay? So if you have duplicate signs here, that means that you were pretty much in a situation in which you could not build yourself up at all. Like, you couldn't really focus on yourself. You may been in a situation in which you were controlled and you couldn't really be the individual person that you wanted to be. Someone told you what you were or what you had to be in a past life. And so now what's really important for you to do now is really focus on, who you are as a person without, kind of who you are as a person without other people's involvements, and then like seeing what that is at first, and then afterwards figuring out, okay, who am I when I add other people involved? Like, when I think about all my other influences, like, who am I after and before? Like, before people's influences and after people's influences. And why did I choose these people to influence me? You know what I mean? So you really have to kind of get an understanding of self, both by looking at yourself and figuring yourself out and seeing how you want your first impressions to be. And also, and like kind of figuring out your drive too, because again, like, there's a great chance that your drive was like weakened and you really couldn't focus on your drive because, again, you was being told what to do. Or another way I can see this happening too is like maybe in a past life you were maybe like, a concubine, right? And we were groomed to be one, and you couldn't really find out who you are because you were told what to do, and like you couldn't even really have your own relationship. Because remember, Libra represents relationships, and this will be a duplicate sign too. You couldn't have relationships. You had to been told. You literally were told what to do in every aspect of your life. You couldn't even choose your own love life. So now you kind of have to figure that out yourself in this life. You know what I mean? Balance out who you are before the influence and after the influence, and just ask why. You know what I'm saying? Next, Taurus and Scorpio. Like I mentioned before, like, these two are about worth. You know what I mean? So when I think about this again, I think about self-worth versus shared worth. You know what I mean? Like, how you see yourself, just like without other people being involved, like how you see yourself and how you see yourself with others. That'd probably be the best thing to say. How you see yourself with others. How you use others to understand yourself, and how you understand yourself by yourself. That's perfect right there. Because again, Scorpio energy, they are psychic and they learn about themselves and learn about other people through tapping into them and kind of getting the deep, dark secrets. Scorpio energy is all about intimately bonding with others, right? While Taurus energy, they're not really about intimately bonding with others. They're really trying to understand their own self-worth and what they have to do to build themselves up and in turn build their money up. You know what I mean? So, and probably in a past life, you were in a situation where you had no way to kind of understand your own worth, and there was no way for you to intimately bond with others to understand other people's worth or understand how you understood your worth through other people. You couldn't have done that either. You know what I mean? So now that's what you need to focus on in this life. Okay? Next, Gemini and Sag. Again, this is kind of like the learner teacher. That's what I think. In this situation, I'm kind of thinking this, like, if you have these houses duplicated, you were in a situation where you couldn't learn. You were stuck in some type of life where you couldn't go to school, you couldn't travel, you couldn't think of your own philosophies, you couldn't think for yourself, you couldn't do anything. And it's less to do about you couldn't be yourself with Aries and Libra, more about you couldn't think for yourself. You wasn't able to be exposed to different cultures or even your own. You were sheltered. So I kind of think even a kidnapped person that couldn't go out and discover the world, let alone their own community, let alone the world, because they're kidnapped. They were held captive. You know what I mean? I also think of a woman just back in the day that just couldn't go to school. All they had to do was just tend to her family, the family that she was born in and the family that she was married in. Just tend to her family. She had all these aspirations and couldn't go to it. So now what you have to do in this life is go for it. Learn within community, learn within other communities and other countries. Just soak up all the energy you can and think for yourself. Don't let other people think for you. Think for yourself, and so you can be yourself. Next, Cancer and Capricorn. Again, this is the family outside of the life, and the family inside the home, the private, the family, the family reputation, as well as the family privacy. It's a great chance you didn't have a family in the past life at all. It's a great chance that you were kind of in a situation where you couldn't even build your own reputation. You were just probably a lowly worker, born within a situation. I could see maybe in your past life, you probably were born in an orphanage, and then people kind of look at you, this is back in the day, people looked at you weird and you couldn't really build yourself up because you were kind of stuck in this even caste system, you know what I mean? And so then you had to just work, and you couldn't really grow within your company. You were just stuck at this 2-bit job literally for decades, and you just couldn't move up. You just stuck in this job, and then you died. You know what I mean? That's what I think of for a person that has that, like, duplicate houses here. So with these signs, so what's now pushed is for you to really focus on both your reputation and your family at the same time. Build your family name, build a legacy, find the balance between the two. Don't overexhaust one over the other. You need to really balance both. This is with all of the signs. You really need to balance both of these energies. It's really, really important. But it's just most important to the angle houses. But it's very, very important to everybody, okay? And the angle houses are the angle signs, the cardinal signs. You know, that's Aries, Libra, Capricorn, Cancer. But it's really important to everyone, though. But it's like really pushed in these folks' faces more than anyone's that have duplicate or signs there, you know, and intercepted signs there too. But like I was saying, you need to kind of make sure you take care of your family all the way around, wholeheartedly. You can't just be the homemaker and that's it. You can't just be the worker and that's it. You have to kind of be the everything for your family. And if you can't be the everything of your family, because I know that's a lot, make sure you're in a situation where your family could be taken care of in all facets. You know what I mean? Build your legacy. This is a very, you know, when you have a duplicate house there, that means this life you need to build your legacy, build your family legacy, build your family name. Start from the bottom and build that shit up. Nepotism is not an issue here, okay? All right. Next is Leo and Aquarius. So again, Leo and Aquarius, that is representing what you actually give to the world and how the world perceives it. So if you have duplicate houses here, that means that you were just a big old dream deferred. You were in a situation where you could not live your dreams. It could have been you were too poor to get the access of different talents and different like activities so you can build your talent, or you had too much responsibilities. It could be that, or it could be that you were born into a rich, like, freaking royal family, and all you wanted to do was play the violin for a living, but you can't, because you have to be the king. You know what I mean? It's expressed in a way where, like, you couldn't be yourself. You couldn't be your weird, strange, individualistic self. You know, Leo represents self-expression, so of course it's just like how you express yourself. But also Aquarius represents individuality, uniqueness, what makes you you. So you couldn't, you know, be awkward and weird. You had to be stuck doing this thing. Or you couldn't. And also too, like, both Aquarius and Leo represents, you know, kind of ruling a big mass of people, like a big group of people, especially Aquarius, but definitely Leo too, because remember, Leo represents royalty. So you were in a situation where you couldn't do that. Like, you were always the commoner. You never could have been. You wanted to be that leader, but you just couldn't. Like, you didn't have what it takes. So now you have to kind of step forward and do that. Be that leader. You know, you have to be able to control people, but not let it get too much into your head. And you have to be able to be yourself. Be the unique you. Be, you know, express yourself. You know, that's what's really important in this life for you. hopefully I didn't forget anything. I did Aries, Libra. I did Taurus, Scorpio. I did Gemini, Sag, Cancer, Cat. Yeah, I did them all. Actually, before I get started with Virgo and Pisces, let me add something for Taurus and Scorpio. Taurus and Scorpio, Scorpio represents the occult too, so maybe you couldn't get into the occult and you wanted to on a low in your past life. So if you're listening to this, you're probably into it now. So keep doing that, okay? Anyways, Virgo and Pisces. Now Virgo and Pisces, yeah, this is the servant, the not like, you know, kind of like a poor servant, but the person that's always helping, is always giving. You know, Pisces is always loving, is being willing to be the martyr to give, while Virgo is the earth angel, is always they're not gonna be the martyr. That's definitely not it. But they are always giving suggestions and always trying to help, and is always willing to be a helping hand, okay? So this is a situation in which you couldn't do that at all. You probably felt like you wanted to help, you wanted to give, you wanted to love, you wanted to give your suggestions, but you couldn't. Again, like, I feel like in the past life, maybe you were a woman of a royal family back when women couldn't do anything. And so, like, you wanted to, like, help rule and help with the, you know, governmental things, and you couldn't. And you wanted to help the people, and you couldn't. Like, you just had to literally just sit there and be pretty, and that's it. And you just couldn't do anything. Like, you couldn't kind of ground yourself with the earthly things, because you like, oh no, you're too perfect and beautiful to do the earthly things and help the peasants. But you couldn't really also help people through love either. You know what I mean? So you're just stuck in this limbo. I kind of see, if you have duplicated houses here too, that the possibility that you were an atheist. Nothing wrong with atheists, but you know, Pisces and Virgo, again, Virgos is known as the earth angel. Pisces represents spirituality, so it's all about kind of understanding what our creator is. So it's a great chance that you were not connected to spirituality at all, not through naturalistic spirituality, something like more Virgo energy, not through the universal unconsciousness spirituality of a Pisces energy either. Okay. So now what you have to do is find a balance of both. How can I be surrender to spirituality but also be grounded at the same time? Finding the balance between the two. Okay? So that's the duplicate houses for you guys. It was long still, but not as long as duplicated houses, duplicated signs. It was long, but not as long as the intercepted signs. So, you know, I'm still not done though. I know y'all niggas are getting tired of me, but I kind of wanted to kind of show you, kind of explain my theory again, and then talk about why my theory is right. And by using my real life example. Okay. All right. Hey y'all. So I'm gonna mention the personal story with the last words. You know what I mean? Bring it on home when it comes to intercepting signs and duplicate signs. Okay. So I was always interested in intercepting signs and duplicate signs, but there's little to nothing out there about what they mean exactly. So I always felt like there was a deeper meaning to it. So I just, try to do research, channel this information myself. And luckily, I was able to get the information that I needed through both research and channeling the information and studying my own chart. But the thing that helped me the most with this is the experience that I'm going to tell you right now. I was really interested in my past life information. So I went to a psychic and asked them if they was able to pull this information in, right? Now, she said that I was a warrior king. Most of my past lives, I was a masculine figure. I was a man. Again, like the most prominent one that she can think of is me being this warrior king. I wasn't like top dog king, but I was up there in the ranks. And she remembered me having a headdress. She said I looked extremely handsome. I was loved and respected from a lot of the people around in my community. Was a genuine person. I had a lot of hoes. Fucked around. Slept around. Probably had mad kids. But I was liked and it was cool, so people just dealt with it. You know what I mean? It was back in the day. She said that this was back in kind of like, she's thinking ancient Egypt, ancient Roman. It wasn't there, but she said it was around those times. And she said that what ended up happening was I died in war. I was pretty much almost cut in half. And I died in war. And, you know, that's how I moved on. And my soul, she said, actually was like tired of the whole masculine energy. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be a woman. And so ever since, I was kind of done with the masculine energy and was ready for the feminine energy. She said that this figure of me, this is me in my past life, is actually protecting me still. She said that she was telling me that the matrix is wild. Like, even though that was me, it's my past life, it's a part of my soul. A part of my soul and a part of my past life is protecting me to this day. That's wild, right? So, it's funny because people always laughed about me kind of like holding my head up like I was royalty. I'm the youngest of 10 children, and my siblings used to ride me around in this wagon, and told me to wave my hand. I waved like a princess. They used to call me Princess Dim, like Princess Di, because she was around and alive around the time I was born and I was a kid. And yeah, like everyone always have this thing. And even like I remember I was asking my friends like how to describe me. My friend was like, you kind of have this like regalness to you. So that's been a thing in my life. And I was always interested in like royalty of all different cultures. It was always just so interesting to me. It's funny because I also have Venus in the first, and it's in the Venusian decant of Aquarius. My sun is in the Venusian decant of Capricorn. So beauty and looking good is like a thing that's like kind of important to me. You know what I mean? It's not like super duper important, but it's something that I hold close to. Like it's like I like beauty. I like beautiful things. I'm not shallow, but it's an important thing to me. So for me to kind of get that from me, like for me to get that energy is interesting. She did mention that I again had an active sex life. I don't now, but I do have Scorpio and Mars, which can manifest in that. You know what I mean? Like I think my Scorpio and Mars is a lesson of like yeah, you can be sexual, but you are going to be choosy with your sexuality, which is very Scorpio. So that's kind of funny with that, like I feel like I kind of already went through that whole thing. But this whole like thing about, relating to other people, having big groups of people liking me, being good looking, being a warrior, doesn't that sound very similar to the Aries Libra opposites that I described? Those are my intercepting signs. In my second house, those are my intercepting signs. And so I exhausted that energy and wanted to move along. Now, she doesn't know my chart. This woman just read this off of me. She doesn't know my chart at all. And remember how she said that, oh, you were masculine energy, and he was like, I'm not going to be masculine anymore after that life. And so you decided to be a woman and female for the rest of your lives. My duplicate houses are feminine or yin signs. My duplicate signs are feminine and yin signs. But Aries and Libra are masculine signs. So it's literally showing, it's manifesting even in my chart, me focusing more on the feminine energy than the masculine energy. Because my duplicate signs are Scorpio and Taurus. Those are feminine signs. And then my intercepting signs are masculine signs. Isn't this wild? So she gave me all this information, and it was in my chart from the get. Now, of course, she gave me more detail and everything, but it was in my chart already. Isn't that wild, y'all? Like, my mind was blown when I finally put the dots together. Like, when I finally was like, try to do as much research as I could, and then try to channel the information. Then looking at my chart, I'm like, wait, this sounds just like the past life reading that I had, to a T. And she didn't see my chart. She doesn't know my chart. Like, how the hell would she know that? It's just wild, right? And that is why I think this is correct. This is why I think this is right. You know what I mean? Your intercepting signs are the energies of life that you've either excelled at, which I think less. I think it's more of energies that you're overexhausted in your past life. The meaning of life is balancing yin and yang, right? There's 6 yang signs and 6 yin signs. The yang signs are the fire and air signs. That's the yang, and the yin signs are the water and earth, right? And those happen to be opposites of each other. So when you're not balancing and you're overexhausting, I think that's God in the universe saying, you know what? Let's use less of this in this life and more of that. It could be even your higher self doing that too. And so my higher self literally was like, I'm tired of being masculine. I'm going to duplicate these 2 feminine signs and get into that. And she literally said that. My soul was like, I'm tired of being masculine energy. I'm going to be feminine energy now. It's fucking amazing, dude. Astrology amazes me every single day. So, with that being said, I'm probably going to do a part 2 on this, because there are situations where people have intercepting signs, but a whole bunch of planets in that house and in that sign. You know what I mean? So what, you were probably wondering, well, what does that mean for me? I'm probably going to do a part 2 on this to get more into that, because I feel like that's really an important point that I really can't get into, because this is about to be the longest podcast that I've ever done. And you guys are probably tired of hearing me talking. If you are interested in getting a past life reading from me using astrology, just know that I'm not going to be as detailed as that psychic medium. I'm not a psychic, I'm an astrologer. But I can give you something, a general idea of what your past life, the lessons of your past life was, and what you need to do in this life. And that's if you have intercepting, houses, intercepting signs. If you don't, then don't get this reading from me, okay? Because I'm going to be mostly focusing on that. But if you're interested, I have an Etsy shop called AstroDim. It's not on my Etsy shop yet, so I will have that there. But you can also ask for it by contacting me through these vehicles or through these social sites, right? You can go to Twitter. My name is Imid Dimmy, IMMIDDIMMI. My name on there, my name, not the handle, is AstroDim. So you could probably type AstroDim and find me there. My name is also the underscore AstroDim on Instagram. So you can find me there. DM me, ask me for a reading there. You can email me at 7thhighentertainment@gmail.com. That's the number 7, THIGHENT @gmail.com. Feel free to hit me up and holla at me and look at my videos on YouTube, which is AstroDim7. And those are the ways you can contact me, okay? You can hit me up if you want a reading. Look at my videos. Just holla at me, say what's up. I love talking to people, so do that. And yeah, if you are interested in a reading, hit me up in any of those ways and I'll holla at you. If you want a past life reading, I'm thinking of ways of looking beyond intercepting and duplicate signs. But if you have, to give everyone a reading if needed, and I have an idea of what I can do, but I just wanted to make it more uniform. I am a Capricorn, right? But if you have intercepting signs and duplicate signs, and you want me to give you a reading, holla at me and I got you, okay? I hope you guys have a beautiful, lovely day. And God bless. Peace.
The podcast you just heard was recorded with Anchor. If you want to make your own, download the Android or iOS app completely free from anchor.fm/podcast. That's anchor.fm/podcast.